Hello and welcome back to Season 2 of the Groom's Perspective podcast with your hosts Katie Mosdale and Martha Haring.
We're opening the stable door and delving into the lives of two eventing grooms, sharing the unfiltered highs and lows as we pave our way through the equestrian world. Available now on all good podcasting platforms. Hi everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Groom's Perspective podcast.
And we are joined this week by the wonderful Sarah Charnley, long-time groom to Ros Canter. So welcome, Sarah.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Yeah, we are good. We are very excited to have you on and hear about, well, just hear all your stories.
Yeah. I feel like this is a real privilege. I'm like, oh my God. Like a grooming legend.
How it all started, really, yeah. I'm not a legend by any stretch of the imagination. Legend says you're old.
Oh, yeah. No, we don't mean it like that.
No, not in that way.
No, I know.
But I'm sure you have achieved more in your time than a lot of people will ever do. And, you know, to be able to be alongside Ros through it all. I mean, well, I guess what would you say? Because I'd say it was a massive privilege, but obviously that's what we see. And, is that what you see it as well?
Yeah, huge. Absolutely. Huge honour, huge privilege to have gone to all these major events with Ros and very, very proud to have been with Ros from the day she turned professional, helping her mum, Heather, on the yard and everything else before she had full-time staff. So effectively, all those years ago, Ros came back from university and went travelling and then decided that she wanted to do horses. So she joined and worked with Judy Bradwell whilst having horses at a farm at Hallington as well. And she was with Judy, I think it was about 4 years or so. And then gradually she decided that she wanted to do horses full time. And so started her business at Hallington at her parent or her mother's farm. So basically I was at an event one day. I had my HGV license, chatted to Heather because I already knew Ros quite well from playing hockey with her at Louth Hockey Club, and basically offered my services if they needed an HGV driver. They'd started their business, or Ros's business, with just a 7.5 tonner. And gradually they realised that they were going to need to have their HGV in order to go to bigger places and carry more horses, basically. And that's when I stepped in.
Wow, what a coincidence kind of thing. Indeed. Yeah. To go from just playing, knowing her from playing hockey to the championships and things that you've been to. But that's kind of how it always happens, isn't it, really? It's always a...
Yeah. Well, as you know, and whether your podcasters know that listen, I'm not a full-time groom. So I do it because I absolutely adore it and I love it and I love the horses and I love seeing Ros do exceptionally well. And whoever I've helped, I mean, I've helped Georgie Fro, who works for Ros. I've gone and groomed for her as well. I just love seeing whoever's riding do exceptionally well. Don't get me wrong. In the past, I've ridden to a reasonable level, just sort of novice, and did Chatsworth and one thing another, and just realised that maybe my bones and falling off wasn't what I wanted to do every single day in, day out. So I've sort of curtailed my eventing career myself, and I've concentrated on helping Ros really. Whilst she's got very good full-time staff at home, I just go and do a lot of one-day events, drive the lorry, do the grooming and get the chance to go to all the big ones.
So you say you're not a full-time groom, so what else did you do or do you do alongside what you do with Ros?
I still worked full-time as a building control surveyor. So my day job is effectively working for a local authority. And my job involves going out on site, dealing with builders, ensuring the work is all built to in accordance with the building regulations, as well as checking plans to ensure their compliance under the building regulations. And that's really been my career from day one, because my father was dead against me going into horses, and obviously all those years ago, 40 odd years ago, grooming's not what it is now. You don't get the benefits. You were a slave to the job way back then. You got an absolute pittance and you weren't looked after like you are now. On the whole, I mean, I'm sure there are places where grooms don't get looked after, but genuinely now, I think through the Grooms Association and the International Grooms Association, they've done a tremendous job for the likes of your good selves that do it as a full-time career.
Yeah, I think they've shown that it actually can be a career, not, and that it isn't, like you say, just the media and the press that it had a long time ago. I think it has come such a long way because it is a career. I think previously it was never seen as a career. You did it until you couldn't cope with it anymore, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the older people, I mean, I've done grooming the wrong way, well, the wrong way or the right way, whichever way you think about it. I'm not a young person anymore, but I've still got a lot of energy. I'm still very fit. I keep myself fit in order to do the job to help Ros and keep myself fit. And don't get me wrong, I do enjoy it, and I enjoy a good party with the best of you youngsters out on the dance floor, and I can bust a few moves with the best of them.
Oh, I'm always in bed. So boring thing.
That is boring of you. That is very boring.
I'm boring thing. So obviously you said you on the weekends then you head off to Ros with Ros to go eventing and stuff, and obviously Ros has been on major teams for a long time now, and with a consistent string of horses at the top level. So talk to us about like what it is like to go to a 5-star or to go to a championship. Like what does it look like for you, and when do you kind of get involved in that, if that's if you're working as well, you know what I mean? Like
yeah, I mean, genuinely, Ros will communicate or I'll communicate with Heather as to which events I'm going to go to. On the whole, I go to most of the 5-stars and certainly all the championships. I didn't go to Le Moulin this year because the lovely Travis went in instead. But on the whole, I do the one-day events so I can go to the major championships. Effectively, my job, I pack the lorry in the sense of ensuring all the hay's on board, all the fees on board, all the bikes are on board, that they've got all the right chargers and things like that. Travis and Ros are in charge of doing the tack, and then we'll communicate with regard to what numbers, etc. we're going. But effectively, I go up and do all the packing with Heather, who puts things out, all the rugs, make sure that all the boxes are on, and it's all neat and tidy. And then it's a case of Travis and Ros making sure that got the bridles and the saddles and everything else, because nowadays I'm not involved in it. In the early days, I was very much went up in the evenings and rode, or at the weekends very often went up, took my horse up as well, had a lesson with Ros, rode a couple, did some mucking out, and generally was up on the yard an awful lot more than I am now. But Ros gradually over the years has got local people close to around the area, and they are all very, very good members of staff. Travis started when he was 15 and basically came under my wing and came to a few events with me, and he's just developed, and he's a super rider as well. And Georgie Fro, who works on the ride, came in 2018, just after the World Championships, decided she didn't want to go back to university. So she came as a second rider to Ros. Georgie had been on the yard on and off through school holidays and was local pony club as well, so was again known back to the family. And then Sonia comes in and she does a lot of the mucking out, the tacking up, and also is a very dab hand at doing clipping. I've never seen anybody get a clip on a summer coat for the likes of Isaac and Walter if they need clipping, if they're going to a 5-star. She's just phenomenal. I clip fairly well, but Sonia's got there's another breath to her. And it's very much a family affair. Heather is Ros's mum, is hugely involved in the feeding and the regimes, where the horses are, which paddocks they're in, who goes with hoe, who needs moving to a better paddock, who needs a less fattening paddock because they're good doers. So she's hugely involved in that part of things. And then Ros's dad is the mainstay of cleaning the lorry and ensuring it's all ready to go for the next day. Bless his heart, he'll come out and he'll muck out all the lorry out, so that's one less for the guys on the yard to actually do, which is absolutely fantastic. So
sounds like
from
a
a
proper team
5-star
effort.
perspective, very much the packing, very much the organising, depending on whether we're taking 1 or 2 horses, then it's just really making sure that we've got everything we need for the whole 4 days, depending on where we're going.
And do you travel in the lorry as well, even if it's a one day, or would you meet Ros at the event?
No, Ros nearly always travels with us. Very rarely. I do most of the driving if we're going to a one day, whatever time in the morning. But obviously we operate under an operator's license. So we are allowed to obviously drive the 4.5 hours. Then you must have a break, and then you can drive a 4 hours again. But if you're what they call a single man with your taco card in, then I have to complete those 9 hours within a 15-hour period. If we're double manning, then we can do the same amount, but over a 30-hour period. So sometimes, depending on what time in the morning we actually leave, Ros might have to do a little bit of the driving on the way home because I've run out of my actual driver's hours within the 15 period. But on the whole, most of the time I do all the driving, unless Heather is coming too, and then she will do a bit of driving. And sometimes we'll triple man if we're like going to Poe. And we've even got 4 drivers on, because when we go to Poe, Ziggy and Chris often come, which is Rosie's husband and her daughter. And obviously next year we'll have another one to contend with as well, which will be delightful.
Yeah, all excitement.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Yeah. So thinking about what was the first championship you went to with Ros?
Right, the first ever championship was in 2013, and it was what's known as back then it was the Rural Riders. Now it's the 3-star European Championship where they do a team of 8 riding in tandem. They've just done it and did very well this summer. They reintroduced it. So way back then in 2013, it was a riding club championships. So effectively it was a 2-star level. And it was for riding club members. So you had to be a member of a riding club. It was nothing to do with the British eventing. So there was no big sponsorship or anything like that. It was very much your own and amateur, or on the cusps of breaking through. So on that particular team that year that we went to Austria, we had Amy, who is now Amy O'Connor, actually Austin O'Connor's wife now. So she was on the team with a lovely horse called Ricky, who eventually went to Bubby Upton for a while. So Bubby bought Ricky off Amy. And we also had the lovely Kylie Roddy, who was on that team as well. Plus Sophie Brown, who's now Sophie Butcher, who eventually with the same horse went round Burley and got her 5-star. So it was a brilliant stepping stone for people breaking through. Ros took a lovely little horse called Emile, and who was a right little character and very good in the dressage, and got a bit awestruck by the water in Austria because there was a lot of people there supporting. So we did reasonably well. The team did okay, but we had an individual silver medal in Katie Hurst, which was actually tremendous. But on the way back, it was a little bit of a disaster. We stopped off in some stables in Germany on the way back, and when we were loading the horses, the automatic sprinklers went off. Emile bolted straight between Will and Sophie, therefore breaking Sophie, galloped right the way round the stables, out through the electric gate and onto the main autobahn. It
Oh,
was
God.
very, very scary. I managed to grab hold of the rope as they galloped past, sadly, in the process, dislocating my shoulder, then having to let go, rolling over, popping my shoulder back in and splitting my head open. So, but
gosh.
fortunately, I know. Fortunately, the Germans are absolutely phenomenal. The lassie in the stable rang the police. The police put all bulletins over the radio, and within a matter of 5 to 10 minutes, a rolling roadblock had been put on by the actual German people on the autobahn. By the time everybody ran and sprinted to try and find them, they found the horses walking in and out of all the cars. And literally,
Yeah.
they just had minor scrapes on them. And other than that, they were absolutely fine. Unbelievably.
So a good job it was
Well,
on the
it was
way
just
back.
a miracle,
All
really.
these injuries.
Sorry.
I said it's a good job it was on the way back
Yes,
with
good
all
job
these
it's on the way
injuries
back.
to
Yeah,
the riders and
absolutely. Yeah,
grooms
good
and
job it's
stuff.
Yeah. And then
Probably
driving
gave you
the
a
lorry
taste of
with
just the chaos of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that was my first taste of international driving and also international generally. Then Ros was very successful with the Burley Young Event horse classes, which is literally where she made her name, really, and where a lot of the good quality horses that she has now came because of that reputation that she had at producing very good young horses. So Pencost Crown Jewel, better known as Jasmine, she came with some lovely owners, and obviously she progressed through the levels to go to 5-star. And Walter came in exactly the same way. The person that had knew Jasmine wanted the horse being backed. Walter came as a 3-year-old. Ros absolutely thought he was the best thing since sliced bread, so got Michelle and Archie to buy him off the breeder. So that's how he all started, really.
She had a good inkling then. She wasn't wrong with that one.
Yeah.
Speaking of Walter, like the journey that he's taken you all on and stuff like that must be really special, and it's it's still quite near the beginning, really, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, before Walter, really, the horse that really made Ros's name is the wonderful All-Star B, owned by the very sadly departed Caroline Moore. He came into our lives probably just after Ros done the Europeans 2013, so 2014. He was a 8-year-old. So he came, and Ros quickly built up a relationship with him, and he was the one that we went to. So in 2015, he was the first 5-star. Ros went to Burley to do her first 5-star on Albie. So that was, from me, absolutely magical, because everybody says how wonderful Badminton is to drive into, but I've grown up going to Burley horse trials since I was 4 years old. So I've either gone as a visitor, a volunteer, crossing steward, fence judge, and then finally in 2015, and as members as well, staying on the caravan park. Finally in 2015, I drove that lorry through the gates, and that was just it was just gave me goosey bumps, really, driving into those stables, thinking that there I am, I'm going to be a 5-star groom, which was quite phenomenal. So that horse took me to all the B's, as I call it. It was the Blair, the Badminton, the Burleys, the what are the B's have we got? All the B's, Bramham, all the B's.
All
right
the events
the
start with a B, I swear.
Yeah, they do seem to, don't they? So I had a wonderful journey with.
Did you go to
Albie.
championship? You obviously, for some of our listeners that might not have known, like Rosin, what about his kind of championships that he went to?
So 2015, Ros obviously did relatively well at Burley. The following year, in 2016, we were asked to, in between time, she'd got another horse called Senshira, which is Little Alfie, and Little Alfie was doing 4 stars as well. And he got selected to go and do the Nations Cup in Ballandennis. So that was the first taste of riding for the BEF, was in Ballandennis all those years ago with Little Alfie. And then obviously we did the Burghley in 2015. In 2016, Ros got asked to go and do the Nations Cup in Stragom in Poland, which was another adventure really, driving, because Ros rang me and said, would you like to go to Poland? And I said, well, yes, but you won't be driving to Poland, you'll be sharing a driving to Poland. And I said, oh, right, okay. But we're going to be, you need to get the horse down to somewhere to be picked up. And I thought, right, I'm going to get on and organise this. So I Googled event riders near Dover, and Tom Jackson name come up because he was very close to that neck of the woods. So I emailed him, and him and Sabrina was so kind. I ended up driving my lorry with Albie and all his stuff on, staying for a few hours there. They very kindly got a stable ready for him. And I met Izzy McKean. Is it McKean? I don't know what Izzy's surname. She used to groom for Ludwig.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, in a nutshell, I drove down there, met Izzy there, and then we drove to Stragom for the Nations Cup. Another interesting thing, we literally got all the way just into the Polish border. We got pulled in by the equivalent of the Woza, Polish, basically. They're checking all your tacos, making sure you got the right paperwork. We were there for nearly 3 hours, having travelled all that way with not having the right paperwork in Ludwig's lorry. So I think he ended up having quite a hefty fine before we were allowed to go and carry on just a few more miles to get to Stragom, which was terribly frustrating for us and the poor horses. So we had a wonderful event there. It was very hot. The other interesting bit was I was supposed to be staying in the lorry with Izzy, and then Ludwig decided that he was going to stay in the lorry, and he didn't want anybody else staying in the lorry. So I ended up having to go back to the team hotel every night and rely on my colleagues to give Albie his late feed and his early morning feed. But I was always in fairly early because there was always a car coming in. But it was very pleasant in actual fact, because it was so hot that year and disgustingly dusty, that when we got back to the hotel and was able to have a really good shower. So I was very lucky from that point of view, having that little hiccup going on. And then obviously Ros did really well there. She came third behind Mickey in that, and the team won team gold. So she then, following year, that was her first championship, first team call up for the Europeans in Stragom the following year in 2017, which again went extremely well for the team, and came home with a gold medal. Long journey again, out there and back, this time travelling with the lovely Nicola Wilson and Alistair, her husband, driving the lorry, and Ruth keeping us awake all that way, backwards and forwards, which was absolutely brilliant. And a lovely journey home, because we had a gold medal in the bag, and also Nicola bagging her individual medal as well, which was super.
Would you normally sleep? So would you normally stay in the lorry with Ros, or how does that look?
Oh yeah. Part of the family, very much so. Part of the family, and we all stay. When we had the smaller lorry, we had a tiny little compartment above the sort of entrance area, and it was more like a coffin than it was a bedroom. Now in the newer lorry, I've got a little bit more space to be able to turn around, which in the old lorry you could just about squeeze over to turn over, but it was a bit of a struggle. Another funny story, when Ros first had that lorry, we were at Bramham, and a couple, Sophie Butcher was staying, Sophie Brown that was, and Caroline was staying, and I tried to get up into this cubby hole bit, and I was going in forwards, and I got stuck. So they basically had to pull me out. So, and then thereafter, I always went in feet first, so my head was out by the door. Yeah, we've had some lovely times. Bramham there that time. We went to the wonderful Bramham party on the Thursday evening. Ros had already done a dressage test, but she didn't stay late. She'd gone back to the lorry. So Caroline, Sophie and myself carried on at the party and had a lovely time. Got back in the lorry. Ros was already asleep. Caroline was going on the pull-out bed at the bottom. Sophie was on the floor and I was going up into my cubby hole. During the night, I needed to go to the loo, so I came down. Unbeknown to me, Sophie had kicked the ladder, and I went up the ladder and ended up falling backwards straight on top of Sophie, and she didn't even wake up. So she
must have been a good party.
Had that much to drink. It was a very good party. Bramham parties are always a good party. Very, very much so. So yeah, we've had an awful lot of fun over the time helping, and then obviously when Ziggy came along, we had the extra person on board that we ended up having to play with and having a lovely time. And Ziggy's great fun, absolutely brilliant fun. She's bundle of energy, so it's always good fun to play with children as they get a little older. I'm not particularly a baby person. But certainly as they get to toddlers and stuff, I'm very happy to play and be silly with them, as I'm known as Mad Auntie Sarah. So,
does Ziggy have a pony yet? I don't know if I've seen this on social media or not.
Yeah, Ziggy started off with having a little Shetland called Sparky, who was absolutely wonderful. She's getting more keener now, and she's got a little pony called Moses, and she's certainly getting a lot keener now. But Ros doesn't push it. If she wants to ride, she rides. If she doesn't, she doesn't. But she's got incredible balance. She's not the most orthodox in her riding style, but my goodness, she's got incredible balance, and it doesn't matter what the pony seems to do. She seems to stay on top. So
that matters.
Yeah, exactly. And as long as she's having fun, that's the main thing. There's plenty of time to be serious on a pony. I think sometimes nowadays everything is too serious with children at a young age too quickly. You know, it's silly. Just get on and have fun. But sadly, with pony clubs now, you couldn't have the fun that I had because of health and safety. Everything's so organised because of people perhaps not realising that horses are a dangerous sport and accidents do happen. You can minimise things happening, but it really stops them playing silly bees like riding without reins, riding without stirrups, taking your saddle off as you're going down a jumping lane. You know, everything that they used to do in the army. I remember I used to do at my pony club. We learnt how to take the saddles off while we were going down a jumping lane.
I'm trying to picture that, and I'm like, how? How are you doing that?
How? Well, basically, it's effectively you've got to have a much lighter saddle, and you can't have a close contact saddle. You know, back in the day, the close contact saddles were nothing you had. You know, you had the dressage saddle. But you know, you couldn't lean down, so you just basically undid the saddle and jumped off in front and lifted it up, and away you went.
Yeah, like I think back at what I did when, you know, I was younger, with like growing up in the riding school, and the ponies used to go out in the field, like on the moors, like, and they'd be miles away from the stables. And it would just be like two of you would take 8 horses, and you'd be on one bareback in a head collar and leading the others. And like the disasters that used to happen where we'd lose them, or we'd decide we wanted to jump a log on the floor and then we'd fall off, and it would just be like you had to problem solve, and then they'd come and pick us up on the quad, and it would be like, all okay, and we'd be like, yeah, all good, you know, kind of thing. But that doesn't happen anymore. and
No.
that, like you say, like that is sad, because that is what teaches you not only the balance, but just like the kind of grit and the getting it done and kind of thing. And
Yeah,
the having fun, and like that is why
absolutely.
we all, we started. We didn't start to be serious and post our results on social media and try and get a
No.
sponsor and all of that. You start because you really enjoy the horses.
I think, yeah, making it fun. I mean, I remember when I was first learnt to ride. I mean, I come from a totally non-horsey family. I plagued my parents for riding lessons, and it turned out, and I don't remember this, but my family are from Somerset, and we went back to visit my grandmother, and we were on Weston-super-Mare Beach, and I plagued them. I think I must have been about 3. Plagued them to go and have a go on the ponies. And of course, back in that days, you were allowed to have ponies on the beach, and they used to ride up. One person would be leading you on a pony. I think about had plagued and plagued and plagued, have 6 goes. And in the end, by the end of the time, I was riding off the leading rein, cantering up and down the beach with this little pony that I kept riding. And apparently the girl that had been leading me said to my mum and dad, "You must take this girl to riding lessons." And so they did. When on my 4th birthday, I started having a riding lesson. Probably once every 3 weeks I was allowed to have one, because my parents weren't very wealthy, and it was just on a local farm. And the lady used to keep a few ponies on the farm, a little place called Oldwinkle, just outside of Oundle. And they used to, Caroline Brown, remember her well now, and they used to keep the ponies in the village green, as it were, which was also the football pitch. So they kept the ponies there during the summer, and obviously then it was a football pitch during the winter. We used to play treasure, but it was like litter picking, effectively. You had to go and find something red or something purple or whatever, and you were galloping around on these ponies, vaulting on and off to find who could get the most pieces of litter back in 5 minutes or something like that. And you had to get back on, and you had to keep going, and that's what taught you good balance and how to get on, how to vault on, etc., etc. Don't ask me to do it now, because I would not be able to vault on.
Neither could I. My back's too old.
Yeah.
But like, speaking of that and stuff, but going back to Ros, and obviously like that's how it should start. But from the outside in, Ros is the ultimate professional. And is that how you see it as well, or do you see her differently, being part of the family kind of thing?
No, she's utterly professional in everything she does. She always has been, and no stone is left unturned. And she has an incredible ability to read horses and almost get into their minds as to how is the best way to train this horse. How does this horse work best? And she has a great way of thinking about them in human characters. Like Walter in his younger days would have been a naughty schoolboy with his shorts round and his shirt out and his tie round his wrong way and his cap on the wrong way. But he would always come out with the best marks or be the best sportsman or like that. And she has a great way of describing the horses in that way. And I think that's her ability. And she is very particular how the horses go on the flat. I think in any other life, or maybe even in the future, who knows, that she may well go on and do Grand Prix dressage. She has a huge ability on the flat, and has trained herself to go cross country. She's, as she says herself, she's not the bravest person, I think, that's open to riding cross country, and she's had to teach herself to actually learn to ride at big fences at speed. And that's where the great Chris Bartle has come in and helped her over the time with that as well. But Ros, you would never, I've never had a cross word from her. I've never had a sharp retort, ever. And there's always a please and a thank you without fail. Even in the most stressful times, it's always a please and thank you, always.
And that's how it should be, you know. And you know, you're a huge part of that team, and it's obvious for anyone to see that it is a team that works incredibly well, and you are a huge part of that.
Yeah, and it's the massive enjoyment, and it's making sure that Ros hasn't got to think about the horse. I mean, you know, in your role, if the rider's got to think about, you know, is the keeper in properly? Is the throat lash done up properly? I mean, one of the little things that is always now, you put the bridle on, etc. But I always leave Ros to do the noseband as to how she wants it, and just to check it from that point of view. Always, that's just one of those little things that she likes to do. So you leave it to do it. Everything else wise, it's making sure that you've done everything to the best of ability, so that all the rider has to do is get on and ride and do it. So they takes an awful lot of the weight off and the responsibility. And especially now, when you go to a championship, the riders are never at the venue. They never stay at a championship. The GB riders always stay in a hotel. The only time they've stayed in the lorry, I think they stayed in a lorry at the Europeans this time. I don't think they stayed at a hotel at Blenheim. But normally, if you're overseas, then you stay in a hotel. Obviously, in 2018, the Groom's quarters for the World Championship wasn't the best. But fortunately, again, with the quality and the management of Team GB, they make sure the grooms are well looked after. You are certainly very, very well looked after if you're on a team with the GBs. That's for sure, definitely. And from Ros's point of view, I think there's a massive two-way trust. I trust her, she trusts me, and I think that's where you need to build up a very good relationship with your rider from that point of view as well.
Definitely. If you could say, like, what's been your standout kind of, I mean, it must be quite hard to say, like, there's been thing, but like, what's been your standout moment with Ros, or championship or event, or, you know, what always does your mind go back to as your best?
Going to Tehran and winning the World Championships in 2018 with Albie. That was just magical. It was really put Ros's name there as being one of the top riders in the world. And she was so shocked when she won it. The photographs said it all. John Stroud captured some wonderful moments from the stand, looking down on when she realised that she'd won. And I think that will always remain in my mind. And then the other one would have been after Paris. Obviously, Paris was just phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, I thoroughly enjoyed Tokyo. It was awful for Ros being a reserve. Anybody going to anywhere of these things and going as a reserve rider, you've got to have some really good mental strength. But for me personally, taking away the fact that I was looking after Albie, I had an absolute blast, because of COVID, it's the first time ever that you had all of the GB, like the dressage, the show jumping, and the eventers all in one barn. Because normally at a championship, you have all the dressage horses together, all the eventers together, and all the show jumpers together. Well, because of COVID, and you were staying in your GB bubble, we had all them together. So I was in the barn with Ben Mayer, Scott Brash, Gareth Hughes, Carl Hester, you know, and at the time Charlotte and everybody, and Lottie Fry, watching them train, watching them work, and talking to them like I'm chatting to you now. And me being a riding nut, you know, I think, oh my God, Carl Hester's talking to me. And he's just the most nicest person in the whole wide world. So that was memorable as well. Paris was memorable, but without doubt, winning Burley last year for the first time, 2024, was again a very, very proud moment, because the owners are from Lincolnshire, Ros is from Lincolnshire, I live in Lincolnshire, and we produced or Ros produced a sublime effort to win that one there. So yeah, those three would be the big ones, and obviously this year was even more special with Ros carrying a little one as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a bit like you could just keep talking.
Yeah,
like, and this one,
Yeah.
and this one, kind of thing, you know. When talking about your in 2018, I remember it so well because I
remember it.
Yeah, I hadn't been here very long at all, and we were watching it on a phone on the yard, and I can remember Ingrid having the last fence down. And Jan came round the corner because I think she was a selector at the time. She came round the corner, literally screaming. And I've never, she's always so like calm and professional. And she came round the corner, like waving her arms in the air. Like, we've done it, like this. Wow. And I literally was saying that about how shocked you were. I remember we were all like gathered around this phone and Jan had gone in to watch it. And then she just comes running. I've only ever seen her run at a trot up, and it's not that fast. She was sprinting. And I just remember that being like pushing Ros onto the map, and then ever since it's just been like, you know, that's there.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
The thing.
Yeah, it was a very memorable trip in so many ways. I mean, A, flying out as a team, B, getting into the airport and being delayed, and there was the GB dressage team there, you know, with Charlotte and Carl and everybody, Emil at the time. So, you know, I was a real sort of fangirly type of person, going on the plane with them, going out to the team, arriving, and Dickie saying, has Ros spoken to you? And I said, no, because I've just been on a plane. Oh, there's been a bit of a problem with Albie. Oh, right, okay. What's the problem? Well, he's colicked. And it wasn't just a colic, it was a major impaction. And thanks to the likes of Rachel Tolley and Marcel Tassel, who were looking after the horses, so they flew out immediately after or before the horses arrived to do all the quarantining in America. So they were doing the horses, and then we were flying out to get there sort of a day and a bit before the horses came out of quarantine. And fortunately, Rachel had spotted the fact that Albie wasn't eating, and rang Liz, the vet, team vet, and you were only allowed to have 2 people in there in the quarantine area, and they were quite strict about it. And fortunately, again, this is where GB are so ahead of it. They'd already sussed out the hospital the equine hospital just down the road, and effectively the suggestion of one of the quarantine peoples is they take him down to the hospital down there, which still was deemed to be quarantined, so he was still being able to be in the zone, as it were, to be able to compete. And Rachel and Liz, how they did it by tubing him with no anaesthetic, because obviously it was quite a few days before the competition, so he couldn't have anything. And they managed to dislodge it, and he stayed in the hospital an extra day. So all the guys arrived and their horses came out, and they were all bathing them and I was just running around like a spare part, because I wasn't allowed to go into the hospital with him because it was still under quarantine. And eventually he came back probably a day later, looking very sorry for himself, looking very grubby and a little bit thinner. And within 2 days, not even 2 days, probably 24 hours, he was back to his normal self, eating well, drinking well. And I think I'll never forget Rachel Tolley turning around and in very mixed language, and there'll be too many bleeps to actually say it. But that horse is now going to go and win that. Yeah, he did. And it was fate, meant to be. I think it was totally meant to be. So
yeah, that must have been really hard as a
you've
groom,
got to
not being
look
able
at
to get there.
from a groom's perspective when a horse has had major colic like that, to get him back to full fitness. It was a case of lots of little feeds, measuring all the water, ensuring that he kept his inner gut going, checking on him all the time. And it's never without any interest when you're grooming at a major championship at all.
No, so special, and like, you know, just to relive it, but also just to hear the hardship that also went into getting that medal as well.
Yeah. And it's thrilling for everybody that was part of it. And the very sad thing is now the only horse from that team still with us is Toledo.
It's sad.
All the others are no longer with us anymore, which is very, very sad. And Albie was a great one for throwing spanners in the works, because the 2016 when we went to Badminton, he arrived. I was doing the Badminton grassroots, and then after doing the grassroots was going on to Groom, and Ros rang me and said, "Oh, Albie's had a heart fibrillation picked up at the vet check when he first arrived, but we're still staying, and he's apparently allowed to still do the dressage." So then the lovely vet at Badminton showed me this monitor, how you used it. And so when we travelled to Stragom, I had to monitor his heart all the way to Stragom using a mobile phone in this attachment that you put round the horse. So yeah, and that sort of thing. But it was certainly got back into a rhythm very, very quickly when we dropped him off at Oakham on the way home from the 2016 Badminton. And then he went and did really well at Burley, and then went on to Stragom, so in the 2017, which was fantastic. So he was a horse that was always going to go out with a bang, and sadly he did.
Well, no, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. Like, I could literally just sit here and listen for ages.
I'm just listening. I'm like, I don't want to say anything. I'm just so intrigued.
But, you know, I know our listeners will be so appreciative of you giving up your time to talk about what it takes to groom it, you know, for the best rider in the world, really.
So do you have any specific question that you would like to know? For you personally, what is there anything?
Yeah, I've got loads.
Go on.
We'll be here all night.
Go on.
What would
you can
be
always
your
edit
top
it out.
Top tip for a stay away? Like, what's your number one thing you have, or tip that you?
My number one thing
like
to have with me is my electric bike now.
Oh, okay.
No, the good lightweight mats. To be honest, if you're on grass, you know, to put in the stables always, because Walters are messy so we've got some really good lightweight mats. Be organised, have everything to hand. I have what I call a travel box, and everything goes into that box. So I have one box with all my grooming and plaiting bit in, and then I have another box that has got cable ties in it, bandages in it, a bit of a first aid kit in it, all my fly spray, everything in that. Well, I know that everything is in there that I need when I go, so I don't have to pull things out of the lorry. It's already in that box. So when I arrive, I take it all out, and I don't have to keep thinking, oh, have I got my hoof fall? Have I got this? Have I got that? It's all in that box, ready to go to the stables. So that would be my biggest tip, is have everything organised for when you get to a big event effectively.
Mm-hmm. Do you band or stitch putts?
One days I band. If it's a short fork mat, I band. If it's a long fork mat, I stitch.
Are you superstitious about that now? Is it like, you got to do it?
No. The only thing I'm really superstitious about is I never watched the show jumping. Never. I think I've watched. I say never. I had to video the show jumping at Scone for when Ros ran the 2-star up there, but that was at 2-star. But it all started donkeys years ago when she was in the lead at Houghton, and I didn't watch the show jumping when she was riding Sekatinka, and she won what was the old 2-star back then at Houghton Horse Trials, and since then I haven't watched the show jumping round.
Right, maybe everyone needs to not watch
Silly,
my
really.
show jumping. That's where we're going wrong. Don't watch me on Sunday.
We'll start jumping clear rounds.
Yeah, I might jump clear then. I'll tell my mum.
Yeah, Nadine, put the camera away, walk away.
You don't need to watch this.
No, I love that.
Well,
Okay,
guys, it's been great. Thank you very much, and thank you for doing your podcast, because I listen to it on my way when I'm driving, because very often I need to have something to keep me going and entertaining. So thank you very much for doing your podcast.
I didn't know you listened. Do you have a favourite episode? Come on, give us a bit. Is it with Jan?
Probably, yeah. That was quite cool. That was quite cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what everyone says that.
Yeah, no. Well, we hope actually with this series we've got a few guests on, which should be really good. So people don't have to just listen to us waffling; they can listen to people like you talk about good stuff instead. But no, we really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much.
I look forward to seeing you out again soon.